Hey everyone, it's Aaron here from thecompletedrummer.com. In this video I want to walk you through my perfect practice method, which features my two most powerful practice techniques, and we're going to apply them to the four basic rock drum coordinations that you need to know in order to play most songs. And the cool thing about this is that you can actually apply this and start learning this and using this even if you don't already own a drum set. You can kind of test it out and see if it's something you'd want to do. And it's going to help you learn faster, save time, cut potentially months off your learning curve, and get you to the point where you can start making real music quickly rather than just playing beats and exercises. So here goes. Okay, so here I am with my trusty drum pad, a pair of sticks, and the floor, which is really all that you need to practice anything. And really, you don't even need all that. You can use your hands. You don't need the pad. You can play on your legs. So if you don't own a drum set yet, start messing around with that. You can learn the coordinations and try this out and see if it's something you like before you spend a bunch of cash on it. Okay. So there are four coordinations that you need to know. The first one is called together, which means we're going to hit the bass drum and the hi-hat together at the same time. We'll also be using this one for all of the snare drum coordinations, so just you'll get used to it. So what we're going to do is we're going to play the bass, or your foot, and the hi-hat, or your right hand together. And then you're going to play the right hand. The next note will be both hands together. So we'll go like this. And then the last note is just another right hand. So it goes both hat, hands, hat. Both hat, hands, hat. Both hat, hands, hat. Both hat, hands, hat. Both. Okay? It's real crucial that you say what you're playing. Just for starters, it helps program your brain. It gives like another level that you're programming everything in on, so it's going to make it easier to learn it quicker and quicker. So the first practice technique of this perfect practice method is what allows you to practice things perfectly. Because if you're practicing it wrong, you're just making bad habits, and the bad habits will continue to reinforce themselves, and you get better at doing it wrong, which is obviously not what we want. So the first thing is, if you can't do it, say you're trying to do this tempo. It's not working there. Slow it down so that you can do it perfectly. Everything's together, and I'll take it at the tempo that I was at before. Okay, cool. So there's a ton of different grooves that you can do using that coordination. We're not going to talk about them now because there's going to be another video. The link should pop up right about now to go check that one out. And that will take you through some other variations you can do with that one. In this one, I just want to introduce you to the four basic coordinations. So the next one is going to be in between. And to try this one, we're just going to start out with a basic back and forth between the right hand and the right foot. Called in between because the bass drum comes in between every right hand you play. Okay, so do that a lot, get comfortable with it. You want to do it so many times that it's easier to do it right than it is to do it wrong. Like, it's hard to make a mistake. Okay, so So the groove that we're going to play with this one is this. And when you're learning this one, a lot of people, like most of the students that I've taught this to, have trouble. It's what I call cutting the imaginary string between your right hand and your right foot. And just because you learn the groove where you play them together, and just because you're overall not coordinated when you start drums, which, by the way, I couldn't play that first groove, the together groove, the first time I sat down and played drums. It just didn't work for me. So when you work at it and practice and practice and practice, anybody can do it, because I couldn't do anything when I started. Alright, so continuing with this one, we're going to do a practice method that I call zoom in and zoom out. So what it means is you find the problem spot, the thing that you can't do, and you focus on just that. And when you get good at that, then you go back out and do the whole groove until you can do the whole groove as good as you were doing the little piece. So with this one, we're going to start with just 3 notes. It's going to be both, hat, bass. 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 Both, hand, foot. Both, hand, foot. Both, hat, bass. It doesn't matter what you say, as long as it's something that's going to help you cognize or help you understand better what you're doing. Okay, so once that's comfortable, you do it over and over and over and over until you can't mess it up. Then we're going to add, and really focus on the rhythm of that one. It needs to be long, long, short, short. Long, short, short. Okay? So now we're going to add another note. It's going to be another hi-hat note. Long, short, short, short. Long, short, short, short. Long, short, short, short. Actually, that last one's going to be long. Long, short, short, long. Long, short, short, long. Long, short, short, long. Okay? So we'll have, you can say it this way too. Both, hat, bass, hat. Both, hat, bass, hat. Both, hat, bass, hat. Both, hat, bass, hat. Then once that's comfortable, we add the snare drum. So it'll be both, hat, bass, hands. 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 And you may have to do each one of these 20, 50, 100, a good number of times before you get them comfortable and solid, but that's okay. It takes time, and it's going to be different for everybody. So just keep doing it at a tempo that you can do it right at, and then speed it up from there. Now the last note is going to be just another hi-hat note, and it's going to be a slow note. So both, hat, bass, both, both, hat, bass, hands, hat. 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 Both. Okay, and you can do that over and over and over and over and over and over until it's easier to do right than it is to do wrong. You want to make sure your tempo's staying solid too. I don't recommend practicing with a metronome right away. Just get to the point where you can do it comfortably, and then after it feels good, then start using the metronome. Because if you use it right away, it can be frustrating if you're not lining up with it. And your brain's just not ready to do, not necessarily ready. Some people jump in and get it right away. But not everybody can just jump in and be perfectly in time. So if you can't do the metronome right away, it's okay. Alright, and then there are a ton of other grooves that we can do with this pattern, with the kick drum or the bass drum in between the hi-hat. But again, we're going to do that in another video, which should pop up here right about now. next one. This one's called double on. So what we're going to do is we're going to play a double on the bass drum that starts on a hi-hat note. And again, we're going to start with the zoomed in version of this. Actually, I'll play the groove for you a couple times first. Both bass hat, hands, hat. Both bass hat, hands, hat. Both bass hat, hands, hat. Both bass hat, hands, hat, both. Okay? And you can do this over and over and over and over. If you can just jump in and get it, awesome. If not, here's what you need to zoom in on. The problem spot. The new thing, the thing you haven't done before, is going to be both bass hat. Both bass hat. Both bass hat. Short, short, long. The rhythm is so important. Both bass hat. 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 And then once that feels good, we zoom out. We go back to the groove. Both bass hat, hands, hat. 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 Both. Okay? So then again, if you try it and you fall on your face again, zoom back in. We zoom in, we zoom in, we zoom out. Zoom in, zoom out, zoom in, zoom out. Until this is as good as this. So, both bass hat, 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 both bass hat. As many times as you need to do it, okay? If you need to do it 1,000 times, it's okay. But make sure you're practicing it properly, practice it perfect, rather than making mistakes. Okay, so that's that one, and just like the others, there are a ton of variations we can do and other cool things we can do. Link to that video coming up right now. Okay, and then for the fourth one, this one's called double off, and it's just the opposite of the last one. It's a double with the bass drum that starts off of the hi-hat note. So it'll sound like this. The groove is actually going to start on a beat with the bass drum and hi-hat together, because the note that starts the double off is leading into that first beat. So it'll go like this. Both hat, hands, both bass hat, both hands, both, I'm sorry. Both hat, hands, hat, bass, 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 both. Okay, so the little piece, our zoom in on this one, is hat, bass, both. 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 Short, short, long. Short, short, long. Hat, bass, both. Hat, bass, both. Hat, bass, both. Hat, bass, both. Make sure your hand doesn't do any extra notes. You want to watch that for that in all of these exercises, because your hand is just keeping constant time. It's like your right hand is the metronome, playing the hi-hat, keeping time. Alright, and then once you get good at the zoom in, we go back to the zoom out. And if it's easier, you can actually start on the part of the groove, like the zoom in part. We could start hat, bass, both, hat, hands. Hat, bass, both, hat, hands. Hat, bass, both, hat, hands. Hat, bass, both. If you don't want to start on beat one. If you want to start on beat one, great. That's awesome. Again, there's a lot more that you can do with that one. Video to that here. And then here's a few other ideas that you can do with this. We learned to do all of those coordinations with the bass drum. Learn to do them with the snare drum. So do the in-between. Right there, in between. We can do the double on with the snare drum. could do double off with the snare drum, leading into the backbeat. Okay, so those are your 4 basic coordinations. You need to know those to play all the different rock grooves. I'm going to do some other videos pretty soon about variations you can do with those. But for now, I'm going to put the links again to all those videos. We'll have the together, in between, double on, and double off. And make sure you go check those out, practice them, and apply them to your playing. Be creative and have fun. Rock on. Happy drumming. Peace.